All right, next question. How is the Canadian education system versus the American education system? Do you guys learn about taxes? Because most of us don't. So I don't think we can really comment on the differences between the Canadian and American, but there
Yeah.
were a lot of questions in with this theme of like, did you guys learn this practical thing in high school? Because I don't. And yeah, we can't say the differences between different regions and countries and curriculums and stuff like that, but I think we should comment on this idea of like, why don't we learn more practical things in high school, right?
For the record, I never learned about taxes in high school.
Neither did
Yeah.
I. There's a lot of practical things I didn't learn in high school. And so part of me really understands the criticism, like, why am I not learning about like what it means to pay a mortgage or buy
Yeah.
a car or pay my taxes? At the same time, like part of me thinks, do you want like an underpaid, overly stressed teacher having to take on all of those life lessons? Or in a perfect world, would you hope that someone's parent or guardian is actually kind of
But not all. Yeah.
responsible for teaching
I
their
see that
kids
argument, but I
this?
think the counter argument is, while there unfortunately are a lot of parents who are not taking on that responsibility and are not willing to teach their
Or they
kids
may not
these
be
things.
knowledgeable in those
Yeah.
things either, right?
So then it comes at the cost of those kids who wouldn't be learning those things. So where can those kids get that knowledge? It's school.
But no, but here's the beautiful thing, right? The internet is a thing now. If you feel
point.
like there are practical things in life you're not learning,
But how do you know that?
there must be resources online at this point of like, I'm sure someone has put together a list of like
A YouTube video on taxes.
very useful things for like, hey, are you towards the end of high school, but you figured out you don't feel like you've learned some very practical stuff about like having a budget or,
Yeah.
knowing like what you have to do with like self-employment income. Like the internet is a beautiful thing for those resources. And maybe someone down below in the comments on YouTube could even like
Make some suggestions.
point us to
Yeah.
suggestions if there are some like really core useful resources.
That's
for
an
that.
incredibly good point that like I totally take for granted now, because growing up there, of course, we didn't learn about taxes or mortgages, and like eventually it's like something I asked my dad. I'm like, how does this work? I'm trying to buy a house, I have no idea.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But later on in life we could just Google these things, but when we were growing up we didn't have the option. We'd like ask a teacher or a parent and that was the answer you got.
Well, no, the internet
Sorry,
existed
the internet
when we were in
existed,
high school.
but it wasn't okay, I make us sound so old. There was internet, guys, but it doesn't, the amount of knowledge and the accessibility and the ease of reading it, it didn't exist then as it does today.
I think just how computer and internet literate people are, our young people are today compared to us
Yeah.
is hugely different. And that's why your average 16-year-old today is so much more knowledgeable than I think we were when we were in high school. Just because you have
Yeah.
this resource.
They have the tools, these online tools available to them.
Although I've seen some very interesting articles about whether the internet necessarily teaches people knowledge they retain versus is a tool that they are just constantly able to draw from. Do you know what I mean? There's a distinction there, right? Like if you have to look something up on the internet and you immediately get an answer, it's kind of like when autocorrect corrects your spelling. Did you just learn how to spell the word properly, or did it just give you the answer and you just know that you can use it? And like a calculator, are you getting better at math in your head? No, you're just able to use the calculator as a tool. In some ways, the internet is also just a tool, and you're not necessarily learning or retaining
You're
that.
just relying on
You're
the
just
tool to get
relying
you
on
the
the tool.
answers for you. I mean, we do that with like Microsoft Excel.
I mean, I do that with the internet now.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting distinction and point. All right. But actually, one last point on this idea of like, I don't learn practical things in school. Yeah, like I can think of a lot of things we learned in high school that I'm not using in my daily
Sine,
life.
cos, tan.
Yeah, like certain things of like
Trigonometry.
trigonometry and stuff like that.
But I still remember it. Why?
And you really don't need to. But I think it should be said, and this is often missed by like YouTubers who talk about like, why did I learn such useless things in high school? Just going through the process of learning complicated concepts, even if you're not going to use them in your daily life, is a lot of the point. And, if you are going into a field or a university program that requires you to have some background knowledge of math or science, it's a good thing you did learn at least the
'cause
basics of that.
and
in
you're going to
high
need
school.
it, even though, like, I wanted to go into pharmacy, just like a quick side note.
Yeah.
And I thought pharmacy was just chemistry, basically, and medicine. I found out it was a lot of calculus and algebra, which I hated and didn't pay attention to in high school. So it wasn't feasible for me to pursue that. So it unfortunately, I did need to know sine, cosine, and like all these other algebraic equations.
If you had gone into
If I had gone into it, which is one reason why I switched career paths.
Oh, okay. Well, you're happy with how things turned out, but
I
that's
am,
kind
yeah,
of strange
but
to
just
think like how
Yeah.
just not liking math completely changed.
Yeah, but I think Ben's point is right. Of course, there's things that you're learning in high school that you're never going to use again. And I think teachers know this. And maybe the curriculum isn't perfect. We're not saying the curriculum is perfect. And I don't even know what the curriculum looks like today, honestly. And when I was learning the one delivered to us, it definitely wasn't perfect. I thought shit was dumb too. But there is something to be said that at a young age, like a growing brain, the more things you learn and retain, it just improves your ability to learn things in the future. It's like the more languages you speak. So there's some correlation between that and just the aptitude for learning in general.
Yeah.
So the more you can learn, even if it's about stuff that's not going to matter, you're still building your brain capacity in a way and learning how to become a thinker. And hey, that's great if you're a critical thinker and thinking about how certain concepts don't apply in real life. Good. Challenge them. I mean, don't yell at your teacher, but
Yeah, don't challenge them too much.